the next video in my vlog series. I'm going to talk today a little bit about what I've been up to the last month and a half or so since I did one of these. I have been so busy. As you can see, it is now fall here where I live, and so I was able to collect some beautiful leaves from my garden. And what I have here is actually a proof for a card that I painted last year. So I have all these cards now available on my website. I did this persimmon leaf, about a year ago. And then this month for the Patreon fundamentals video, we painted together a similar leaf. What we did was a wet and wet technique, and I also showed how to make the shadows so that it actually gives a three-dimensional effect and makes the whole thing look a lot more realistic. So this was the project for, you can get this for as little as $4, the video lesson for this. So I really highly recommend that you check that out if this is something that you are interested in. So this, like I said, was from last year, but this is part of my latest collection release, which is called Rooted. I did a soft release on this collection. I just wanted to, this is the first time that I've had to upload like a whole bunch of things at the same time and actually write about my intention behind them. So I really encourage you to go to my website, which is creativebloomdesigns.net, and take a look at what I've had to say about each one of these pieces. But here's just a quick glimpse. This is my burnt sienna American Crow. This is A Long Summer's Eve. Stormy Day Mushroom. Reflections. This is a sassafras leaf. Bee Balm Buzz. And Mushrooms in a Windswept Glen. This is one of my favorite pieces this year. This is a Belted Kingfisher. Yellow Ochre Coreopsis, which is actually another plant that I did for the Patreon for last month. We did Coreopsis flowers, so that's fun. I hope there's one more under here. Nope, that's it. And then this one, I actually used it to store a fungus that I found in my garden. So it's now stuck on there and it bled through, but this was the proof for Moon Glow Barn Owl, which is one of my favorites from last year. So all of these were painted during the pandemic, during my isolation, and they're very meaningful to me. So have a look. I'm making them available in both cards, and you can get prints. The other thing that I have prints of up on my website now are these landscapes that I have done, various ones over the last year, 2 years, I guess. Now that's amazing to me to say that. But just a series of landscapes that were really about embracing the freedom of watercolor and enjoying the way that the pigments move and not really having to make anything specific, but they all read as landscapes. And I enjoyed using many different colors. Explorations. So a lot of them are actually handmade watercolors as well. I really enjoy buying directly from handmade manufacturers. This one is a mixture. I made some of these mixtures together, and then this is the Tundra Violet, which was available for the October Patreons if you wanted to purchase the dot card for that month for $8. That was one of the colors that was on there. So this one I painted right after I got a tube of Cobalt Blue to kind of see how the cobalt works as a sky and a watercolor. And so this is pure cobalt. I think it's interesting, but it's almost a little too milky for my taste. A lot of times I will use both sides. So, you know, if you were to purchase this from me, this is the bonus that you get on the back. I guess it's almost like finding a bit of a journal piece on the back of your landscape. I actually really, really like this one. I think that it's super moody and effective, and there's, I believe, only 3 paints used to make this. I lose track sometimes. This one's more swampy. This is actually a specific tree. It's one of the oldest trees in Canada, a maple tree that I visited with my family. One of the last things that I got to do with them before the pandemic. So it's kind of sentimental. Here's another exploration into cobalt. Cobalt Blue. This one is an ultramarine blue, slightly different. Again, a little bit more moody. I really enjoy the way that these colors blend together and create the effect of a horizon line or like the edge of the forest. And that's just the paint doing its own thing. This one, I just really love the contrast in color. It's almost like there's a storm on the horizon, but you're still in a bright sunny day, but it's coming. I love this one, just the color of the amethyst. This is actually genuine amethyst used. It just really gives like a whole mood and beautiful effect. This one I also, this one is sentimental somehow, and I'm not sure why, but it's just, I really enjoy the way that the pigments moved and flowed together and the impression that they give. You know, you could almost turn it upside down and read it a completely different way. So that's what I mean about they read as landscapes, but I wasn't intentionally trying to do anything other than really play with the paint and just relax and meditate and enjoy the colors as I make these. So that is the last one. I know that there were more. Some of them my sister took back to Canada. I recently had her visit me, which was lovely. I also wanted to show you just really quickly while we're doing show and tell. So this was the one for August, and then here is the Coreopsis. I did 2 versions actually. I ended up going with this one for the demonstration for the monthly project for September. And then this was another one that I painted and decided was maybe just a bit too challenging and something that we could work towards. But this is the one that we ended up doing for October, and I have 2 versions of this. One my sister took home with her. The bonus for October, which is coming out next week, is putting in like a golden sun background into this, and it turned out really, really cool using actual paint with like a mineral mica that reflects like gold. So these are handmade paints by Stoneworks Mill, and I use this one, which I think is called Athena Gold. So that is the artwork that I have been up to. This is, if you were a member, the 3rd tier, you get a 5x7 print each month, and you can opt in to getting the paint card as well. So this was for October. This is what is going to be going out in the mail, is the Windswept Mushrooms. It's a 5x7. It actually ends up being a card, so this is what it ends up looking like. And I showed you on Instagram how I made these, so I'll pop that up now. You can see the process video, but I ended up making the cards a little bit bigger, so they've got an illustration of a violet that you can play with, and instead of being dots, they're smears. They just dry a little faster for me, and they're not as bumpy for when they go in the mail. So that is exciting, something to look forward to if you are one of my Patreons that receives merchandise at your tier. I'm working on creating different kinds of neutrals and darks from the paints that I actually own. So this is my completely transparent mixing palette. I've got very heavily pigmented and staining pigments for most of these. And so to me, it serves a very particular purpose. And what I'm trying to do right now is to look at the varieties of blacks that I can make, because I'm going to be painting a vulture next. I'm really looking forward to that. I'm painting a very specific vulture who serves as an animal education ambassador, and so I need to try and understand how my specific paints work to create that black feather look while not being too flat and still showing interest, because a vulture is, you know, mostly just black feathers. So I want to make sure that I do justice to the actual beauty of those feathers in the light. And I think that's where watercolor can really shine, is showing you that flash of light and reflection of color that you can't really get the same way with other types of mediums. So I was looking at specific combinations. This is phthalo blue and brown madder. I really like that. I think it's a nice variation on something like the classic Jane's Gray mix, which is ultramarine violet and burnt sienna. This instead is using two completely transparent paints. This is a common one, so anthracanoid red with phthalo green, and I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of this one either. This one is ultramarine turquoise with anthracanoid red, and I actually do like some of the mixes, but I think I'm going to end up going with these ones instead. And this is just showing how I can build up that intense dark in two different ways. So I did this by first, actually I did this one by mixing them together. So wet on dry, I just literally took some of the dark brown matter on one side and some of the phthalo blue, and I mixed them together to create this. And on this version, I actually painted the brown matter first, you know, making it a little bit darker on this side and fading out to a cream color on this edge to show the roundness and the light direction. And then I painted the phthalo blue on top of it. So I was just looking at the different ways that you can create that depth. And then I continued on that theme, looking at the different ways that you can use that second technique of laying down the complementary colors. And then the second layer is just, you know, each one is its own colored layer rather than mixing them on the page. And I think that this has an application. I think that it didn't turn out the way that I thought it would, and I actually think that these look quite ugly. So I'm not sure how often I would use any of these particular mixes, like especially the purple, and this is purple Mars yellow, this is carbazole violet, and I think lemon yellow, something like that. And it's like ugly. But what I've learned is that, okay, it does work. You definitely can see, you know, the shades of, and the variation of the way that the light hits, and it gives the impression of being three-dimensional. So I'm thinking maybe using this technique, but instead choosing colors to make up the leaf. So for example, for this, I could do putting down the warmer, richer color first, just where the shadows are, and then painting over it in the lighter yellow, and see if that is effective. So that is the type of research that I do behind the scenes to come up with different ways to paint things that I think really make it shine And one of the beauties of watercolor is that it is transparent and you can do this. But again, what's the right application for it? That's what I'm testing to find out. Coming up in the next month, November, we're going to be painting another bird in the Patreon membership, and also the fundamentals lesson will be making cards. So watercolor cards that you can actually send out as Christmas cards if you like, or holiday cards, or really you can just take the lesson and apply it to any reason to send out a card. Especially now in the pandemic, I think it's really enjoyable to reach out to people you haven't seen in a while and send them a little piece of unique artwork. So I would love if you would join us for that and take a look at all the great work that's being done in my membership. So thank you so much and have a great day.